Did you know that some of the most mind-bending time machines were never built in labs, but on 1970s backlots? In that single decade, filmmakers poured enough sweat, research, and old-school craft into their sets to fool historians, and even win Oscars with their accuracy. Yet behind every satin waistcoat and flickering street lamp lies a hidden secret. These movies shaped the way later generations imagined the past far more than any textbook ever could. Stick around, smash that like button, and share this ride, because we're counting down 17 jaw-dropping 70s period pieces that resurrected bygone worlds with impossible precision. The Last Picture Show, 1971. Walk into Archer City, Texas, and you'll still feel Peter Bogdanovich's camera lingering on the wind. With a shoestring budget of just $1.3 million, the director commandeered the entire town, repainting shop signs with hand-mixed 1950s pigments, replacing streetlights with pre-fluorescent tungsten bulbs, even borrowing a disused high school gym so extras could slow dance to Hank Williams on scratchy Shellac 78s. Cinematographer Robert Surtees shot on 35mm Orwo B&W stock, rarer, grainier, and closer to 1950s newspaper halftones than Kodak could offer, so every frame looks like it was yanked from your grandmother's scrapbook. Prop master Walter Scott raided local barns for period license plates, sanding them by hand until the county inspector signed off that they looked legally decrepit. The movie snagged 8 Oscar nominations, with Ben Johnson and Cloris Leachman both winning for roles they almost refused. Johnson thought the language too blue. After release, real teenagers kept pulling up to the town's defunct Royal Theater, snapping Polaroids under the same marquee where Timothy Bottoms once stared into dusty oblivion. When the Texas Film Commission tried replacing the collapsed roof in 1999, locals rebelled, insisting it remain a ruin, because that's how the movie left it. Few films have embedded themselves so completely into a living community, letting nostalgia and reality merge like a mirage on Route 66. American Graffiti, 1973. George Lucas financed his Hot Rod hymn on a micro-budget of $777,000, but authenticity came priceless. Shooting nights in sleepy Petaluma, California, he wrangled nearly 300 period cars, each vetted by custom paint guru Bob Falfa for factory-correct color codes and chrome trim. Lucas insisted diners serve brand-new cases of 1962 recipe Coca-Cola, then unavailable, so a prop chemist reverse-engineered the pre-high fructose formula. Extras wore thrift store threads, but wardrobe stitched 1950s Union labels inside collars because the director wanted details even the camera can't catch. The soundtrack, 41 wall-to-wall AM hits, cost more than principal photography, yet its seamless DJ banter resurrected the lost art of cruising with transistor radios buzzing in open windows. Every single on the double LP went platinum, and within 6 months, DJs from LA to London launched oldies blocks that birthed a million-dollar nostalgia industry. Universal tested 4 cuts. Lucas's tight 112-minute version, edited with the help of future Pixar founder John Lasseter, outgrossed The Exorcist per theater on opening weekend. The film's box office haul of $140 million made it, dollar for dollar, one of history's most profitable pictures, and convinced studios that period accuracy equals profit, paving the way for every nostalgia-soaked blockbuster that followed. The Sting, 1973. Universal spared no expense recreating 1936 Chicago, even constructing a temporary elevated train spur over the backlot to mimic the cavernous rumble that frames Redford's entrance. Production designer Henry Bumstead scoured WPA blueprints to recreate Union Station's marble ticket hall in fiberglass, so convincing, commuters tried buying real train fare between takes. Edith Head, Scott Joplin's Ragtime, revived through Marvin Hamlish's score, sent sales of sheet music from the 1910s soaring 8,000%. The film's playful long con structure nabbed 7 Oscars, and triggered a national wave of sting parties where guests arrived in fedoras to play penny ante-poker under replica green-eye shade lamps. Even the felt-edge poker chips used in the climactic showdown became collector's gold. A single set auctioned for $32,000 in 2020, proving the long con's returns never really stopped. The Great Gatsby, 1974. Director Jack Clayton flooded Newport mansions with 1920s opulence, but costume designer Theoni V. Aldridge stole the show. She commissioned Italian looms to weave loom shuttle linen whose thread count matched surviving Brooks Brothers catalogs from 1925. Extras attended a week-long Gatsby finishing school, learning to wield long stems and cigarette holders without breaking posture. Tiffany & Company opened its vault, loaning $300,000 in Art Deco diamonds, armed guards on every set call. Cinematographer Douglas Slocum filtered sunlight through silk stockings to mimic period orthochromatic film's blown-out highlights, giving every garden party a halo of champagne sparkle. Ralph Lauren's companion menswear line moved 200,000 pink Oxford shirts in a month and ignited a decade-long preppy craze. While critics debated the film's pacing, it still banked $26 million, triple its budget, and won Aldridge her Oscar, one she famously dedicated to every forgotten seamstress of the 20s. Literary tourism boomed. Long Island realtors reported buyers requesting Gatsby-style docklights, forever blending Fitzgerald's fiction with suburban reality. Chinatown, 1974. Roman Polanski's noir masterpiece began with a simple rule: no modern skyline. Location scouts mapped 360-degree sightlines so no post-1940 architecture would sneak into frame, even draping false facades on distant office blocks. Costume head Anthea Silbert tailored Jack Nicholson's four-button, wide-lapel suit from a bolt of weighty Glencheck wool identical to 1930s custom-tailored guide specs. Cinematographer John Alonzo slipped antique muslin scrims over the lens to bleach California light into the sepia warmth of a fading postcard. For the pivotal Orange Grove scene, set dressers planted 600 live Valencia trees in a week, trucking in Depression-era WPA irrigation pipes so water gurgled authentically on mic. Screenwriter Robert Towne's script, bought for a record $400,000, won the film's lone Oscar. But the real cultural ripple was civic. LA high school curricula added units on the 1930s water wars, crediting the movie with reviving public interest. Chinatown tours that sprang up in the 80s admitted the film's painstakingly reconstructed alleys felt more real than what remained, an irony Town loved. We rebuilt a city so audiences could mourn what's gone. Barry Lyndon, 1975. Stanley Kubrick didn't just recreate the 1700s, he reverse-engineered it. Warner Brothers bought 3 museum-grade 18th-century estates in Ireland just so Kubrick could knock out walls, rewrote fireplaces, and film long tracking shots without modern blemishes. Every wig uses human hair shipped from a Bavarian monastery that still follows 1760s weaving methods. And then there's the light. Kubrick persuaded NASA to loan him 3 Zeiss f/0.7 lenses, originally built to photograph the far side of the moon, so he could shoot ballroom scenes only by candle glow. Costume chief Milena Canonero stitched uniforms with vegetable dyes that fade naturally under sunlight, meaning red coats look freshly pressed in Act 1 and sweat-stained by Act 3 without makeup retouches. When the film premiered, art historians praised its frames as moving Watteaus. Sales of 18th-century prints doubled at Christie's in 1976, and candle manufacturers reported a sudden boom from cinephiles obsessed with reenacting the glow. The movie snagged 4 Oscars, 3 in craft categories, proving Kubrick's obsession made authenticity the real leading man. Paper Moon, 1973. Peter Bogdanovich shot this Depression-era odyssey on Pan-X 5222 stock, the same grain Gordon Willis used for The Godfather. He banned anything invented after 1936 from set, right down to a crew member's wristwatch that halted filming for an hour. Real state fair grounds in Kansas were stripped of aluminum signs and replaced with hand-painted tin placards matching WPA color charts. Ryan O'Neill's Jalopy is a Model A Ford with its pistons bored out to survive 1,000 miles of location hopping. Every squeal you hear is live audio, no Foley. Tatum O'Neill's cigarette packs are factory-sealed 1930s, Lucky Strikes bought at an estate auction. She famously practiced opening them one-handed for 2 weeks. Tatum became the youngest Oscar winner at 10, but the bigger ripple was economic. Antique shops along Route 66 reported a 60% spike in Depression-era memorabilia sales. The American Pickers TV crew still cites the paper moon effect for why cast-iron toy prices remained sky-high. The Duelists, 1977. Ridley Scott's featured debut felt like a lost Goya etching come alive. On a budget of $900,000, he rented abandoned Dordogne fortresses, scrubbing moss from 200-year-old stone so cannon smoke would cling for slow-motion shots. Cinematographer Frank Tidy used pre-World War I Cooke lenses to desaturate colors into muddy greens and gunmetal blues, matching pigment samples from actual Napoleonic uniforms. Harvey Keitel's sabers are original 1805 carriages, so sharp they sliced 2 stunt gloves clean through. The prop master finally dulled edges with river stones the period way. Scott choreographed sword fights by projecting silent-era duel films on location tents at night, letting actors memorize footwork by flickering oil lamp light. The film won Best Debut at Cannes, but its bigger legacy is visual. Scott's Smoky Horizon shots became the template for advertisers chasing heritage grit. French tourism boards still market Dordogne castles as Ridley's battlefields, proving micro-budget passion can mint mega-scale myth. Days of Heaven, 1978. Terrence Malick chased magic hour like a pilgrim, filming only at dawn and dusk, so 1916 Texas would glow amber. Location? The endless wheat oceans of Alberta, Canada, where he built a full-size steam threshing machine from Smithsonian blueprints. DP Nestor Almendros shot with natural light 85% of the time, rating film stock by holding his palm to the sun, no meters. Costume designer Patricia Norris sourced Edwardian lace from Louisiana rummage sales and soaked each dress in tea for cafes Olate Patina. Locust swarm scene? Crew members dropped peanut shells from helicopters while reversing footage, making shells appear to rise into the sky, a low-tech trick that fooled entomologists. The film's soft-spoken grandeur inspired MTV to book Malick for a video, and fashion houses pilfered its prairie palette for 1979 runways. Almendros and Haskell Wexler split the cinematography Oscar, cementing Golden Hour as Hollywood gospel. Mille Novecento, Mille Novecento Settantasei. Bernardo Bertolucci's epic charts Italian life from 1901 to 1945, and he treated time like an art installation. He leased 4,000 acres of Parma farmland, then altered harvest schedules so wheat, corn, and grape rows would age in chronological order across the shooting calendar. Set carpenters studied 1910's Italian tax codes to rebuild tenant houses with the correct roof tile tariffs. Even unseen attic boards comply. Lead actors De Niro and Depardieu attended a month-long dialect camp taught by octogenarian farmers to nail 3 generations of accent drift. 2,000 extras were costumed with authentic, lice-resistant hemp spun in Emilia-Romagna mills dormant since World War II. Clocking in at 317 minutes, the film forced theaters to schedule intermissions like operas. Italian cinemas sold risotto cups instead of popcorn to stay on theme. Its socialist undercurrent fueled university debates for years, but historians still screen it for architecture students studying rural vernacular. Grease, 1978. Randall Kleiser's musical time-warped post-war suburbia into a Technicolor daydream. Production rented L9, 56 to 59 Chevys and Mercurys from collectors, then repainted them in factory shades using original DuPont lacquer formulas, harder to apply, but crucial for that wet-look gleam under California sun. Wardrobe head Albert Wolski scoured dead-stock warehouses for circle skirts with felt appliques still sealed in plastic. Vacuum seal was carefully slit on camera to capture authentic creases. The school carnival set featured a real 1957 Rocco-plane Ferris wheel, refitted with hand-carved bulbs after Kleiser complained new LEDs killed the romance. Even the diner milkshakes used a 1950s ice cream fat ratio because modern brands melted too fast beneath tungsten stage lamps. The soundtrack's explosion pushed vinyl sales past 8-track for the first time since 1974, and teenage enrollment in swing dance classes tripled nationwide. Fans still flock to Venice High, recreating the final handshake line. The school now hosts an annual Grease Day, proof that slick hair and saddle shoes never truly fade. Cabaret, 1772. Bob Fosse's razor-edged musical pins you to a bar stool inside the Kit Kat Club and refuses to let modern life intrude. Production designer Rolf Zehetbauer stripped a real 1920s Berlin dance hall to its brick skeleton, hand-painting decadent murals in Art Nouveau swirls copied from surviving nightclub matchbooks. Every bulb in the footlights burns at 40 watts, the same wattage used before German Electric standardized post-1930, giving Liza Minnelli's sequins that sweaty, flicker, and fuse glow. Makeup artists researched pre-waterproof mascara formulas so tears smudged authentically during the Maybe This Time breakdowns. Even the band's battered trumpets are period German Selmers, mouthpieces pitted by a half-century of real jazz breath. Cabaret scooped 8 Oscars, rebooted interest in Kurt Weill, and inspired a global revival of 1920s jazz clubs. Berlin's tourism board credits the film for a 40% spike in Kit Kat-style cabaret bars by 1975. Guidebooks literally adopted Fosse's color palette for their covers. Most telling, historians cite cabaret, not textbooks, as the reason millennials grasp the creeping dread of pre-Nazi Berlin, proof that perfect set dressing can teach history better than lectures. Fiddler on the Roof, 1971. Director Norman Jewison went hunting for 1905 Anatevka and found it in rural Croatia. He built a full wooden village from 600-year-old reclaimed oak so that every door creaked with the right century's pitch. Costume maestro Patricia Norris scoured Odessa flea markets for authentic pogrom-era prayer shawls, then hand-dyed extras coats in onion skin baths for flea-bitten realism. The showstopper tradition sequence used live geese and pigs to match the 1905 livestock census of Imperial Russia. Cameraman Oswald Morris slipped a silk stocking over the lens to bathe frames in sepia, simulating faded family photographs you'd find in a steamer trunk. The soundtrack shattered UK charts, while the film's success convinced U.S. synagogues to launch a nationwide Yiddish language preservation drive. Master carpenters reported a run on wooden wagon wheels now prized by collectors as Jewison wheels. And Topol's battered milk cart? It tours museums as a roving artifact of cultural memory. Patton, 1970. Franklin J. Schaffner's biopic fires the opening salvo with that giant American flag, stitched to 1944 Army regulations, right down to the exact Pantone shade of Old Glory red. The Spanish Army loaned 900 Sherman and Panzer lookalikes, repainting each in division-correct camouflage gleaned from Allied reconnaissance photos. George C. Scott's ivory-handled revolvers? Real Colts borrowed from the Patton Museum, shipped in climate-controlled cases. Battle scenes unfold at 70 millimeters on Todd AO film stock, letting audiences read treadmarks in North African sand. Prop maps were printed on rice paper so they'd crinkle with period brittleness when Scott slapped them in fury. Winning 7 Oscars, the movie rebooted Patton's public image so completely that West Point added film clips to leadership classes. Surplus stores sold out of tanker goggles, and the U.S. Army saw a curious blip in Armored Division enlistments, nicknamed the Patton Bump. Evidence again that meticulous military detailing can march a legend straight into modern pop culture. Nicholas and Alexandra, 1971. Producer Sam Spiegel shipped 2 tons of Fabergé-style glass beads to recreate the Winter Palace Ballroom. He leased England's Royal Naval College, then spent £1 million draping it in crimson damask woven on 1890 looms. Wardrobe wizard Yvonne Blake replicated Romanov uniforms using archival dye recipes. Cadmium blues, illegal today, so chemists substituted lapis lazuli dust for that same ultraviolet pop. Director Franklin Schaffner hired a Russian Orthodox choir to sing live on set during coronation scenes, capturing hymns in analog echo. Even the doomed imperial children wear exact replicas of 1904 sailor suits. Patches were stitched by nuns in St. Petersburg who still hold the original patterns. Though the film's box office stumbled, Sotheby's saw Romanov memorabilia prices triple overnight. Tourism to Tsarskoye Selo surged so sharply that Soviet officials cited the movie, banned domestically, as foreign propaganda of nostalgia. Oscar wins for costume and production design enshrined Blake's work as textbook excellence in historical tailoring. 1958 Twilight, acting Oscar for portraying the same character. After release, Italian barbers reported spikes in Vito-style mustache requests. Meanwhile, Cuban exile groups praised its eerily precise Tropicana set, insisting even the tablecloth lace matched 1958 imports. Hollywood finally grasped a credo prestige TV still follows. Tess, 1979, Hardy's Wessex Lit by Real Dawn. Roman Polanski escaped urban chaos to Dorset and Brittany, vowing to capture Thomas Hardy's 1870s countryside in virginal light. He refused modern fertilizers on the wheat fields, so stalks leaned with 19th-century irregularity. D.P. Jeffrey Unsworth shot using natural dawn and dusk almost exclusively. Crews slept at noon, waking to chase first light that lasts 10 magical minutes. Costume genius Anthony Powell wove peasant smocks from flax grown in Poland, then smudged seams with charcoal dust to imitate years of stove ash. Nastasia Kinski's straw hat was braided by a 92-year-old artisan whose grandfather sold hats at Dorchester Market in 1880. Sound mixers captured gulls on location, so distant cries matched the toll puddle horizon seen on screen. Winning 3 Oscars, Tess sparked a scholarly rush. Hardy sales leaped 600% in 1980, and British tourism boards coined the phrase Tess Trails for walking tours. Vogue shoots copied its earthy palette for years, and candlelit interiors repopularized low-key lighting in art house cinema. When viewers swear they can smell damp soil through the screen, you know period detail has crossed into alchemy. So there you have it, 17 cinematic time machines from the 1970s that rebuilt everything from Romanov palaces to jazz-soaked Berlin cellars, proving obsession is the secret engine of immortality. If one frame made you inhale and taste the past, imagine what modern filmmakers could do by following these blueprints. Drop your favorite film or the detail that stunned you most in the comments. Let's see which tableau wins our unofficial, most immersive crown. And before you time travel to the next video, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss another deep dive into Hollywood's hidden craft.